Well, good morning to you all, and I greatly appreciate you all coming out. It's a warm day this morning, and I know a number of you are in the shade. Yeah, please move around if you need to or get more shade, but we really appreciate you coming out. This is just a simple memorial gathering organised by, if you like, the citizens of Armidale. The intention is to just show love and support for our Australian Jewish community, and also to call for peace in Australia. It's something we all want, we all desire, and we're all used to. We're all stunned and shocked and horrified by the tragic events at Bondi last Sunday, and no doubt, like me, you ask, what can we do in the face of such tragedy? Well, today you're all responding. You're here. This is a really good start of response in love and kindness, supporting those in need. I'm Graham Truscott. I'll be leading our gathering today. In a moment, our Mayor Sam Coupland will introduce our time together. Then we'll hear from those from right across our community, a broad range, wanting to show their love and support again for our Jewish community and calling for peace in Australia. They'll be very short addresses because we've got a lot of them. A lot of people wanted to speak. So bear with us and we will work through that, and it won't be too long. We'll also then, we'll have a prayer, a very short prayer. This is not a religious gathering, but we felt that was appropriate. Then we'll remember all those that have tragically died and have a minute's silence. After that, we'll have the opportunity to lay flowers here in front of the stage, and they'll stay there afterwards as a sign of love and care for the lives lost and those so deeply affected by this tragic event. So, as we call on each speaker, normally we'd applaud a speaker, but I think in this situation it's good to be able to simply welcome them in our hearts. And you might like to nod, etc., but we'll just welcome them in our hearts. So, it's a great pleasure for me to introduce our Mayor, Sam Coupland, to introduce today. Thanks, Sam.
Firstly, a big thank you to Graham for initiating this gathering, and I know there were many others behind the scenes who have helped bring this to the fore. Earlier this week, I was asked by Kerry Logan, who I see over here with a magnificent bunch of flowers. Kerry is the pastor of the Armidale City Church up there on Markham Street, and she asked me to say a few words at a memorial that they have. And I like to think I'm a fairly stoic sort of chap, but as I was speaking, I was overcome with emotion about what happened at Bondi. And I know I'm not alone in that. A lot of people I've spoken with are feeling totally discombobulated by what happened. And it's not just the loss of life. It's a shattering of who we think we are as a nation, and it's a shattering of the social contract that we have with each other. We are just not those sorts of people. And I clearly remember 1996 when Port Arthur happened, and there was a galvanising effect on the community, but a key difference in that instance is that there were no specific targets. It was just a bad set of circumstances. And the political and social follow-through that happened after that event, it made us all feel safer. And it did for 30 years until Sunday. And what sits, I think, particularly uneasily is that the atrocity on Sunday was targeted. It was directed at a group of people who were just peacefully going about their business, overtly practicing their faith, such as Judaism in Australia. That's an accepted part of who we are as a country. And that Australian Jews would now feel threatened and unsafe does not sit particularly easily with us. So if there is to be a galvanising effect, similar to what happened after Port Arthur, then the first step is to show our overt sympathy and our support for our Jewish brothers and sisters. The second, and I think probably the most important thing to do, is to support each other, to demonstrably show that we are a united community and show that Armidale is a place where we have strong social and community bonds. So today you are going to hear from a number of speakers who represent a cross-section of our community. It is this demonstration of community strength that is going to make sure we recover from what happened at Bondi, and we can keep alive the flame of what makes us Australia. So again, thank you to Graham for pulling, and his minions for pulling this together. Thank you to the speakers, but a bigger thank you to the Armidale community for turning up en masse to show who we are.
Shalom, and thank you everybody for coming out this morning, and particularly given it is quite hot out there in the sun. Sorry, I will speak louder. I'm Raphaella Kathryn Crosby. Most of you would know me just as Kath, and for 5 wonderful years I had the privilege of living as an active member of the Jewish community in Bondi. I knew a number of the people who were killed and injured last weekend, including the wonderful Rabbi Eli Schlanger of blessed memory, who was a genuinely wonderful man. He was an inspirational and happy person who brought a lot of good into this world, and his loss is a massive loss for not just the Jewish community, but for everyone. There are many things that are being said, alleged and felt about last weekend's events. And most of it is not good and not useful, and a lot of it, far too much of it, is inciting more hatred. I want to really thank Graham and the organisers of this event for allowing the Armidale community the opportunity to come together, to heal and to seek peace, not to give in to anger and seek retribution. Processing an event like this tragedy takes time. We must allow ourselves to process it, to feel it, before we can move on in peace. My own roller coaster of emotions has been intense, from the dramatic and frantic fear of not knowing if my friends were alive or dead, to the terrible guilt of feeling happy that my closest friends were fine, to the despair of knowing that even in my beloved Bondi, we are not safe, not anywhere. Now is not the time to react, or demand action, or blame. Now is the time to grieve. Jewish traditions around grieving are both very raw and very structured. You may have seen some of the funerals in Sydney. They are deeply sad events. It is very customary for people to weep openly and intensely, throw themselves on coffins and let all of those emotions out. After the funeral, the family of those lost will sit shiva. This is, again, a very structured part of Jewish culture. For 7 days, you don't work, you don't cook, you don't wear clean clothes, you even sit on lowered stools as you sit with your sorrow. You wallow in your grief, and you allow your friends and community to take care of you while you go through what you must in order to move on and heal. We as a nation need to sit with the awfulness of this event. We need to feel it, to process it, before we are able to move on. I am not a very good Jew in a religious sense. I don't go to synagogue very often. My Hebrew is pretty poor. And I really, really, really like bacon. Sorry. But when I lived with that wonderful community in Bondi, I learned that doesn't matter very much. What matters is that you do what you can to make the world a better place. You do the best that you can in every little way. You face the world with love in your heart and clear eyes to see the good, and whenever there is the opportunity to do a mitzvah, a good deed, you do it. Rabbi Schlanger was one of those who taught me that. He was very big on a few minutes. It just takes a few minutes to be kind to someone, to speak with someone you haven't spoken to for a while, to make somebody's day, do something nice, do a mitzvah. Yesterday, the Faith Affairs Council of New South Wales asked Jewish leadership what it is that the United Faith Communities could do to support the Jewish community, and the answer was exactly the same. Do a mitzvah, do a good deed. And they are starting a campaign as of today, encouraging everybody to do one mitzvah for Bondi. So as we move forward from this tragedy, I hope that we can all do so with love in our hearts, clear eyes to see the good, and that whenever the opportunity presents itself, you take just a few minutes and do your little bit to make the world a better place. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen and members of our community, what happened on Sunday night at Bondi Beach will leave a permanent and deep scar on our country. In a place that should have been filled with joy and celebration, we witnessed something that was quite simply evil. We grieve with the families of those whose lives were taken. Our thoughts are with those who were wounded and with the many people who will carry the physical and emotional pain of what happened. Our hearts are especially with the Jewish community. We can only begin to imagine the depth of the pain you are feeling. Please know that the police are here for you, and we will continue to stand alongside you in the times ahead. The New South Wales Police will continue to take strong action against anyone who engages in criminal activity that is motivated by hate. We are committed to responding to all hate crimes, and we encourage anyone who is the victim of a hate crime or witnesses a hate crime to report the matter to police. Now is the time for calm. It is time for the community to come together, to support one another, and to show that even in the face of tragedy, we will not be divided. Thank you.
Graham. Last Monday morning I awoke to the news of the Bondi Beach massacre, an appalling attack targeting the Jewish community in Sydney. As I heard the news, I felt physically sick, I felt sad, and I felt angry. Senseless violence motivated by racial hatred has no place in this country, and yet it happened. All this week, it's been on my mind as the stories have emerged of what happened on Sunday afternoon. The horror of it all, the bravery of men and women who put their own lives on the line by running into the carnage to save others. It's also been on my mind because I've been preparing a sermon for Sunday on Isaiah 35. The Old Testament part of the Bible is a Jewish book. Isaiah 35 is a passage in which the prophet speaks of new beginnings for the children of Israel and of judgment on those who had oppressed them. In a time of darkness for God's people, back then, this is 700 years before Christ, this prophecy was a ray of hope that looked forward to the day when God's chosen people would return with joy and singing to God's holy city, Zion. The passage is a picture of heaven, a place of safety and peace, where sorrow and sighing will flee away. The tragic events of last weekend are a stark reminder that we're not in heaven yet. We live in a world marred by human sinfulness, a world groaning under the curse of sin, a world where wicked things happen far too often. Today we gather in solidarity with the Jewish community to mourn the loss of 15 lives, to grieve with those who have lost loved ones, and to pray for peace. This weekend in Anglican churches all over the Northwest, and I suspect all other Christian churches as well, prayers will be said asking God to comfort those who mourn, to heal those who survived, and to protect the Jewish community going forward. I speak for all Anglicans and other Christians in this part of the world saying that we abhor anti-Semitism and we feel grieved at what you've endured over the last 2.5 years. You deserve to be safe, respected and protected, not just because you're Jewish, but because you're Australians. There has always been a deep connection between the Jewish and the Christian communities, for we share much in the way of religious heritage. In this incredibly sad season, we want you to know that we love you and we stand with you. May God give you light in your darkness, strength in your grief, and hope and comfort through his saving word. Amen.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for coming. It's been a really difficult week, I think, not only for the Jewish community in Sydney, but I think for all Australians. Trying to explain and come to terms with what happened has been really difficult, I think, for all of us. I really struggled trying to explain what had happened to my kids, and that conversation was just a really difficult conversation to explain to a 9-year-old girl why 15 people had been killed because of their religion in Australia. It's not a discussion that as a dad you expect to have here in our country. I think as Australians we're at our best when we're united, when we reject hatred, when we reject division, and that's what we're doing today here in Armidale in a very small but meaningful way. And I think that's when we're at our best. And we're here today to demonstrate peace. And I don't think peace is a lofty goal for us to have, but rather it's something we should strive to achieve in our interactions with each other, in how we act towards each other, in how we speak to each other, in how we come together as a community after Sunday. In a few moments we'll lay flowers. It's a relatively simple act, but today it carries meaning. It carries great meaning. It carries the meaning that we say as a community that we're not divided, we reject hatred, and that we have a hope for a shared future together to rebuild our country, which is what we need after Sunday. And I agree with the previous speakers when we speak about now is not the time for retribution. Now is the time to come together as a society, to take stock of what happened last weekend and work together for a peaceful future, which is what we all deserve regardless of your religion. So thank you very much for coming today.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. I stand before you today on behalf of the Ezidi community with deep grief, but also with absolute clarity. We mourn the innocent lives taken in a brutal attack at Bondi Beach, lives stolen not by chance, but by hatred. People who sheltered in peace were met with violence meant to terrify, to divide, and to silence. We honor the victims, and we grieve with their families, and we hold their loved ones in our hearts. May their memories be a blessing, and may strength find those who now live with unbearable loss. Today, the Ezidi community stands firmly and publicly in solidarity with our brothers and sisters from the Jewish community. Let us be clear, this was not only an act of violence, it was an act of hate directed at identity, at faith, and at the simple right to exist safely. When hatred is allowed to target one community, it threatens the safety of all communities, all of us. As Ezidis, we do not speak about this lightly. Our people survived at the hands of those terrorists, the Islamic State in Iraq and Syria, ISIS. This is not a history. To us, it means memory, it means trauma, and loss what we carry every day. ISIS murdered our men and incited our women and children, destroyed our religious shrines, our temples, our houses, and attempted to erase our faith from the world. Thousands of our people were killed, thousands remain missing by the hands of those terrorists, the Islamic State in Iraq and Syria. So when we see violence driven by extremist ideology, we recognize it immediately, and we know its language, we know its intent, and we know its consequences. That is why silence is not an option at all. We say clearly and without compromise, we condemn anti-Semitism, anti-religious and anti-faith in God. Everyone has a faith and how to worship and how to see the God. That's absolutely up to the community, up to the religious, not up to people to force people. We condemn terrorism. We condemn extremist violence in every form against every people. To our Jewish brothers and sisters, the Ezidi community sees you, we hear you, we stand with you fully. Your pain is not invisible. Your right to live freely and safely is not negotiable. The Ezidi people understand what it means to be targeted simply for existing. We understand what it means to bury loved ones, to live with trauma, and to rebuild after devastation. And because of this, we reject division, we reject hatred, we reject the lie that violence can ever bring justice. We choose unity, we choose courage, and we choose to stand together. We choose love, not hate. Let us honor the victims, not only with words, but only with action, by confronting hatred wherever it appears, by protecting one another, and by refusing to allow fear to shape our future as communities. We will not be divided, we will not be silenced, and we will not allow hate to define our communities and our future. May the victims rest in peace, may the wounded find healing, and may our shared humanity be stronger than those who seek to destroy it. Love is part is, and love is above all. Thank you very much.
Good morning, everybody. I'm here on behalf of the University of New England, a learning organisation, to express our sadness to the community, specifically the Jewish people of Bondi and the Jewish community, and to stand in solidarity with an anti-hate, anti-war and peaceful view. A university is a place where people from all faiths and many, many places around the world have come to this city for the whole length of period of the existence of this university. It's a mixing place. It's a place where knowledge is created and shared. We talk a lot today about what is the content of knowledge, what is something somebody learns in a discipline. But actually what's far more important is how people learn, how people get to work with one another and to understand how to collaborate with one another, and absolutely critically, understand how to disagree with one another. My son also asked me, Brendan, why we would come. I blame you, Sam, where's he? Why we would come out this morning with the community. Son, I hope you can see why. It matters that people of different faith and different knowledges can come together and express those differences and have those differences and learn how to express them. The idea that you would pick up a gun and kill someone as a result of having a difference of knowledge, view or faith to those people should be utterly rejected in our society, and there should be no doubt about that. For the Jewish community and those close to the Jewish community, we stand in solidarity. I wear this every day. People wonder why would I wear that on my wrist every day. I wear that as a signal to the people in the University of New England that whoever you are, you have a full right to come to work, learn and study in our university, no matter who you are. Thank you.
I've come to listen today rather than talk, but one of my colleagues asked me to come up, and when my heart started beating, I thought that it was time for me to speak. All of us here today are from four groups of people. We're either Indigenous, descended from convicts, migrants, or refugees. But we're all part of Australia. We're all Australian. We are one, but we are many. And from all the lands on earth, we come. We come to make this a community. We've come to make it multicultural, the most multicultural place in the world. Australia was multicultural long before 1788. Aboriginal people come from different countries, right across Australia. Today I'd like to acknowledge that we're in the land of my ancestors, the Anaiwan people. And there are over 300 different countries right across Australia. They learned to live with multiculturalism. They were united in their diversity. Their stories go back thousands of years. And like Salam reported on the Ezidi refugees, Australian Aboriginal people were subject to massacres as well, cultural genocide, based on the brutal colonisation of this country. We must remember that. If we want to go forward as a country, we have to understand the history. So massacres are not new to this country. But we can't compare Bondi to what has happened in the past. This is the way, or hopefully not, but we have to expect this in the future. Unless we come to understand and respect and love and unite with each other. I'm a fellow Armidalean, I'm a fellow New Englander, a fellow Australian, and I'm proud to be part of a community that comes together to show their respect and to come here as a vigil today. I know it's happening all over the country today, and as Salam said, we can't sit in silence. We have to say what we're feeling. Otherwise we accept what's happening, and it's totally unacceptable. Ladies and gentlemen, my fellow Australians, I'm proud to be part of a community like this, and community to me means common unity. We've come together today to show that we do care and that we do have a heart, and what has happened to fellow human beings. It shouldn't happen. It's a humanitarian thing, and us coming together today shows the humanity that we have. And I'm proud to be part of that community that does it. Thank you.
Hi everyone, thank you for coming today. I am honored to speak today on behalf of UNE and Armidale Muslim community about Bondi Beach, a place that symbolizes unity and peace for many of us in Sydney. Bondi is where people from all walks of life come together. However, recently a brutal attack occurred at Bondi Beach, targeting members of the Jewish community. This tragic event reminds us of the urgent need for unity, understanding, and peace. Dear audience, terrorism has no religion. It is a crime against humanity, condemned by people of all faith. Islam, like every major religion, teaches peace, love, and respect for all. And Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, said, "Whoever kills an innocent soul, it is though he has killed all humanity." Violence has no place in Islam or in any religion. Sadly, some people misuse religion to justify violence. But these actions don't represent the true values of Islam or the Muslim community. One person's actions should never define an entire group. This incident at Bondi, alongside the tragic attack in New Zealand a couple of years ago, where 50 Muslims were killed during Friday prayers, serves as a painful reminder of how violence and oppression will always be remembered for their evils. Terrorism has no face, no color, and no belief. Dear audience, we must stand against oppression wherever it happens, whether in Bondi or Kashmir or Gaza or anywhere in the world. Our hearts are with the victims, our souls are with the Jewish community. We believe in justice. The oppressed deserve our support, and the oppressor must be held accountable. Muslims have been part of Australia for over 150 years, contributing to the nation's peace and unity. Every religion teaches us to support those who are suffering and work toward a world of peace. I hope that through open dialogue and mutual respect, we can build a stronger, united community, the one that rejects violence and embraces love. Thank you for listening. Let me conclude my talk with a quote from Martin Luther. We must learn to live together as brothers or perish together as fools. Thank you so much.
Can you hear me? My name is Tal Kanety, and I stand here today as a representative of the Jewish Israeli community of Armidale. But more than that, I stand here as a fellow human being, as a parent, as a neighbor, and as a member of the Australian community. Mourning the heartbreaking loss of innocent lives in the horrific Bondi terror act. Today, our hearts are heavy. We grieve for families who will never again hold their loved ones. We share the pain of every person who witnessed or felt the shock of this senseless act. And we stand shoulder to shoulder, Christians, Muslims, Jews, and secular, First Nations, Australian-born and immigrants alike, united by compassion, not divided by fear. For me, this tragedy carries a deep and personal sorrow. Like many immigrants from Israel, I came to Australia seeking peace, a place where my children could grow up without a shadow of fear, without the constant worry of violence or terror. I wanted them to know safety as something ordinary, and yet seeing this terror unfold on Australian soil shakes that certainty. It reminds us that hatred, when left unchecked, knows no borders, no religion, no nationality. But I refuse to believe that fear must become part of our children's future. The moments must not define what Australia becomes. It must remind us of who we truly are. A society that rejects ignorance and radical thinking in all its forms. A people who choose empathy over suspicion and dialogue over division. Because for so many of us, Australia has always represented the best of what humanity can be. Growing up in Israel, Australia was pictured as a kind of wonderland, a place with open skies, incredible nature, and some of the friendliest and nicest people on earth. A land of opportunity, where anyone willing to work hard and care for their community could build a beautiful life. We used to joke that Australia was the new promised land. And when I finally came here, I discovered it was all true and more. I found kindness, safety, fairness, a society that believes in giving a fair go. I hope, and we must all fight as a society to keep it that way. Every country, through its institutions and systems, carries a fundamental responsibility to protect the people who live within it. When that protection breaks down, as it has here, it is important to acknowledge that something has gone wrong. Since October 7, many of us have seen the warning signs in rising tension and in uncontrolled spread of hatred, anti-Semitism, and demonizing language in parts of our society. When the first wave of grief and mourning begin to fade, there will need to be a deep and honest contemplation about how these failures were allowed to happen and what must change. Not for the sake of blame or political point scoring, but for a higher purpose. To learn, to take responsibility as a society, and to ensure that such atrocities are never allowed to happen again to any minority, to any community in this country. In the name of values Australia holds dear. I am deeply grateful for the community of Armidale, to all of you, for the love, respect, and humanity you have shown us, even if and when we disagree. We have never felt unsafe or unwelcome. We have shown us what inclusion truly means. Not just tolerance, but genuine acceptance. You've shown us that compassion is stronger than ideology. As migrants, we are guests who have been invited to become family. That is both a privilege and a duty. We must not only build our homes here, we must help build our neighborhoods, our communities, and our shared future. We must be contributors, not bystanders. And when disagreement arise, as they will always will, we must handle them as Australians, with respect, with empathy, and with commitment for peace. Heed my warning today, spoken from someone who has seen what generations of ignorance, hatred, and radicalism can do, how it can tear a nation apart and turn a land of milk and honey into a land of pain and suffering. If we do not stand up bravely and without apology against these forces of evil and intolerance, you may find one day wake up and find that this little piece of heaven has faded away. We must speak up and we must act. The so-called silent majority has to find its voice and step forward. Not only for the sake of the Jewish community or any minority, but for your own good, for our own shared good as a society. Let this tragedy be a turning point, a watershed moment where we as a nation recommit to kindness and courage. Let us promise one another that hatred will not define us, and that our children will inherit a society stronger, safer, and more united than the one we live in. May the memories of those we lost guide us toward healing and wisdom. And may we always choose love, not fear, as the foundation of our shared home. Thank you.
Thank you, Tal. We heard many really wonderful words this morning, and I'm delighted to actually stand here and actually look around the crowd that's here, and I'd invite you to look around the crowd that's here and see mirrored all of the different peoples who are standing here that are in our community that are Australians. They're not different people, they're Australians. And Tal spoke it very well, saying, we are a family and we need to all stick together as a family. One of the reasons that we put this together was we're concerned, very concerned. And for my grandchildren, who I look forward to and I delight, and I see so many children around here, this is what we're here for. Our children need peace. Every person has a right to peace. And now just a little bit of very, very deep remembrance. Let's take time to remember all those that lost their lives in Bondi. Let me read them out. Eli Schlanger, Dan Elcom, Matilda, Yakov Levitan, Boris and Sophia Gurman, Edith Brutman, Reuven Morrison, Tibor Waitzen, Alex Kleitman, Peter Meyer, Marika Pogany, Boris Tetleroyd, Adam Smith, and Tanya Tretliak. Thank you for placing those flowers. They'll remain here for a time. I can't say how long, but they'll be for a time. Please feel free to return any time and place more flowers here. Perhaps ask your friends to come and place flowers here if they weren't able to be here. Please return and sit and think of these people and the peace we so desire in our land. Take time. So friends, thank you for loving and supporting our Australian Jewish community and seeking peace in our land. As we leave here, please know that we're all a family. We've talked a lot about that this morning, a family. We're all brothers and sisters in our beautiful Australia. Please go in peace and gentleness and kindness, and doing that deed of goodness to somebody else today as called for. And to love each other always, finding ways to help and be kind to each other. Thank you for coming, and God bless.